How's it going, my friends? Hope you guys are doing amazing. I'm doing amazing. And I'm here with you to talk to you about how to stop caring what others think of you, because this is literally running your life and ruining your life for a lot of you. And I want to talk about my own journey a little bit here and how to really stop caring what others think of you. Now, before we dive in, I want to let you know that it's natural for you to care what others think of you, because through our evolvement as a species, we have always cared for the longest time. All the history that I've studied and the brain development that I've studied, we've cared what others thought of us, because back in the day it actually meant survival, because we were a tribal species. And so if you wanted to stay alive, you had to stay with the tribe, which is where you got food from and shelter and safety and everything else. And so if you decided to kind of go off and do your own thing, you could have been exiled from the tribe. And so we were biologically designed, genetically, we're wired to care what others think of us. So it's not a bad thing, okay? I do think it's something that's natural, but I think we live in a time, we live in an age where things have changed so much. We're constantly evolving, and we're infinitely evolving beings, right? I'll dive into that more in a little bit. And because of that, things have changed. And so we don't need to care as much what others think of us. A lot of us are independent, meaning we can survive on our own. Now, obviously, we need human connection, which I'll talk about in a minute too. But a lot of us can survive on our own without being exiled from a tribe, right? Now, emotionally, it can still harm us. And I think that's what we need to focus on and talk about today. Because it's not a life or death situation for some of you, meaning you won't get food anymore, you won't get access to safety, because you can provide that for yourself. You may live in a place that provides that for you, but it's more of the emotional survival mode you'll be in, the emotional threat of being cut off from family and friends, loved ones, and society in general. And so I think many of you, if you're like me, who have really audacious goals, who think outside the box, who want to do things differently, who don't want to follow the traditional path that was laid out for you in whatever area of your life, are going to struggle with this. And guess what? That's okay. All right? So the good news is it's normal for you to care what others people think about you. Nothing's gone wrong there. And number two, there's a solution, right? And so we're going to talk about that now. Now, I think one of the things that really bothers a lot of people is when they have a desire that is different from the norm, right? I know I have that. I have a lot of desires that seem to me are very different from a lot of the people in the world that I grew up in. The religion, the culture, the status, the education that most people were getting around my circle, right? My desires have been pretty different. Some of them have been very similar and have been the same, and so I felt a level of comfort and belonging. But a lot of my desires, my dreams, my goals have been very different, right? And so it causes a lot of inner suffering when you feel like you have desires and dreams that you can't, one, really express to anyone else because you're afraid of what they're going to think about you, and two, you also give up on, or you choose to not even pursue, because you know deep down inside, or you have this fear deep down inside that it's just not going to be accepted, that other people will have an opinion about you. And usually when it comes to pursuing our deepest desire, something that's really important to us, and this can be anything, I'll get into examples in a little bit, but it could be anything, right? It could be anything. Your deepest, darkest desires, anything in the world, right? Usually it comes down to a few people and what they're going to think. Now, I know, ooh, the wind's blowing, got my Bollywood moment going on here. So I have that because the ring light here is kind of hot, and I want to stay bright for you guys. So there's a few people who we really, really care about, and then outside of that, other people's opinions is kind of like our extended circle, right? It might be your extended family, it might be your extended friend circle, your acquaintances, people you don't even talk to, but they kind of know you. And then in general, we think about other people as in society, even though we know that it's not really going to impact us that much because they're complete strangers, right? But our brain will make up this whole story about how there's a bunch of other people who we need to consider. Well, it usually is just a few people. Because I think most of us are okay with what may happen if we kind of do things that other people don't agree with us, if it's our acquaintances or people who kind of know us from afar. We're okay with that level of shame and discomfort, right? But what we're not okay with is having that level of shame and discomfort with really close people. Let's say our parents, let's say our siblings, let's say our husbands or wives or girlfriends or boyfriends, romantic partners, our best friends. That's usually where our relatives, right? That's usually where we're focusing, and it still comes down to a few people. It could collectively be a group of people, but really it's just a few people, and then it can expand into, a few more. And I think the reason why we're here, one of the reasons why we're here, is to explore our desires. If you have desires in your heart, they're meant to be pursued. That's my personal belief. That is a belief that life has led me to understand and to know, and I'm so grateful for that, because I think in a lot of teachings, depending on what culture you grow up in, religion, society, we're taught so many different things about what the purpose or the point of life is. And you can have your purpose, you can have your point, right? You can have whatever you want to believe in. I respect that, right? There's no right or wrong here, there's no judgment here. But I do believe that if you have a desire within you, either it was within you before you were born, before you came into this planet as a human, right? And it was meant to be pursued. That's why the desire, the vision is there within you, regardless of how different or off it is from anyone else. Or you developed that desire through your life experience. Through seeing more of what you want and more of what you don't want, you developed new desires within you, which you want to pursue. I think it's really important to at least acknowledge your desires, because when you don't acknowledge your desires, one of the things that happens is you end up in this place where you're not really being true and authentic to who you are. And we talk about that a lot. We talk a lot about authenticity, and that's, one of the buzzwords these days is, living your authentic life and being true to who you are. What does that really mean? What it comes down to is being honest with yourself, first and foremost. Before you think about anybody else, at least be honest with yourself. What are your desires? What are the things that you want to pursue? And I'm talking in relationships, I'm talking with your career, I'm talking a hobby, a passion, a new business, a creative outlet, formats of relationships. There's so many things that are out there, especially in today's times, and I'm just shocked at how many people aren't talking about it. So one of the things I want to do here is be very real with you and talk about the things that a lot of people aren't willing to talk about because they're fucking afraid, and I'm not. I really am not. There's an ounce of me, of course, that's gonna be afraid. Like, we're human. A little bit of fear is good, but I'm not afraid to the point where I'm not going to talk about things that need to be talked about, because my goal and mission is to, of course, first and foremost, help myself pursue these desires so I can become who I want to be, become more of who I believe I am, but also to help you pursue your desires with abandon, without caring what others think of you. And it is possible. It is possible to do that. So one of the things you have to do after being honest with yourself about what those desires are, which can take you some time. I mean, I work with all sorts of coaching clients and all sorts of different personality types, and there's some people, especially a lot of the men I talk to, they're not even willing to admit to themselves what their desires are. I mean, they have so much shame. They have this facade. They have this wall they put up of who they want people to think they are. And so they're not even honest with themselves about their desires. And the same can go for women as well. And so you have to get honest with yourself, first and foremost. I'm not saying you have to act upon it. I'm not saying you have to take action on any desire. I'm not saying you have to change course overnight or become someone else. I'm not saying that. All I'm saying is to entertain the idea. Admit to yourself, oh yeah, I have this desire. Maybe I believe it's wrong. Maybe I believe I shouldn't do it. Maybe I believe it's going to be bad for me or cause harm. Maybe I believe it's sinful. Whatever you think it is, allow yourself to at least honor that desire in terms of accepting it, in terms of honoring it, in terms of allowing yourself to sit with it for a moment and express, right or wrong, it's there. I don't know why it's there, but it's there. This desire is there. This desire for more, for growth, for change, for something different. for more than this, for more than what everybody else, the norm, is doing, is there. Okay? I'm not going to deny that desire anymore. I'm going to accept it. I'm going to allow that desire to be there. I'm not going to act upon it, but I'm going to allow that desire to be there. I think that's a phenomenal, fantastic, life-changing step in and of itself, just to admit to yourself what those desires are. Okay? So that's number one. That's the first step. Once you really thought about that, and once you allow yourself to sit with those desires for a while, you can allow yourself to see what comes up for you. Because usually what's going to happen is there's going to be shame that comes up. There's going to be fear that comes up. There's going to be doubt on whether or not you should pursue those desires, because what if you fail at them? Or what if something bad happens? What if other people think badly of you, right? And so all those negative emotions will come up, and I want you to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. That is how you grow. That is how you become who you want to be. I believe that's how you ultimately lead to having a happy, fulfilled life. And when I say happy, fulfilled life, I don't mean you'll be happy all the time. We'll always have ups and downs. I'm not painting some, perfect picture of some unrealistic thing about life here. You're always going to have ups and downs. You're always going to have contrasts in life. But I do genuinely believe your life can get better and better and better. I do believe you can get happier and happier and happier. And I do believe that you can step into more of who you are. You can feel more aligned within you of who you want to be. And I don't believe that all of us are supposed to be the same. All of us are different. All of us came here with different desires, and all of us will develop different desires and things we want to pursue at the expense of what other people will think of us. And so what you want to desire, what you want to pursue, right, and what you naturally desire may be different from others, and that's not a bad thing. That is normal. That's how this universe works. That's also very, very important for you to realize and for you to remember, okay? So once you can let those emotions come up for you, of the shame, the doubt, the fear of, what if I actually pursue this desire? What would people think of me? You have to allow those emotions to sit there. It is going to be uncomfortable, but you know what else is uncomfortable? Not pursuing your desires ever, not even accepting that they're there, not even allowing yourself to realize that, oh yeah, they're there, right? Because so many of us will repress those desires, right? We'll push them down. And I think that negativity, when you do it forcefully, when you're resisting like that, it's going to show up in different areas of your life. That negativity will pop up in different areas of your life in different ways, manifest in different ways, and you don't want that. And maybe you've experienced this. Maybe you've already seen how this has shown up for you. Maybe you've seen some of the negativity come up in different areas of your life because you've been suppressing certain desires that you do have because of others will think of you. And so allow yourself to be uncomfortable with the emotions that come up when you accept that these are your desires. Okay? Much better to feel the temporary discomfort now than to feel a lifelong level of discomfort because you're not even willing to accept that you have these desires. Okay? The next thing you want to do is you want to give yourself time. There's no rush here to act on a certain desire. There's no rush here to pursue a certain desire. You want to give yourself as much time as it takes to sit with it, to stay in the discomfort. I'm not telling you to suffer. I'm not telling you to beat yourself up. That's the last thing I want you to do. I'm all about you living in your joy, living in your peak excitement and empowerment. I'm all about that. But a lot of that, sometimes, depending on where you are in life, has to do with you feeling the discomfort so you can grow into the person who can experience more of those positive emotions. And so I want you to allow yourself to feel the discomfort of what would happen if I pursue these desires. What would others think of me? Allow yourself to feel the discomfort of that and ask yourself those questions. A lot of times, what I saw myself doing in the past and I've seen my clients do is when we ask ourselves the questions, what would happen if I pursued this desire, and we answer it, we feel terrible. And so after that happens, we say, okay, well, I'm never going to do that because I don't want to feel terrible. And because I know now I can't pursue that desire, I feel even more terrible now because I feel even more restricted and more repressed. And so I think instead of going to that extreme and completely writing it off, I would just allow yourself to answer the question of what could happen hypothetically if you pursue that desire, and then allow yourself to feel bad about it. Allow yourself to feel terrible. Allow yourself to temporarily feel uncomfortable about that without making any decisions. Your brain will tell you, let's completely just cross this off, never going to happen, we're never going to pursue it, because I'm not going to be able to handle the judgment and the shame that comes from pursuing this desire. I'm going to care too much what others think of me. Okay, or this might hurt other people in my life. Your brain's going to tell you all those things, and that's fine, but you don't have to make any extreme decisions. Okay, you can just give yourself some time. You don't have to have a yes or a no. Our brain likes things to be black and white, good or bad, right? It likes to basically process things in a very binary way, and so you don't have to do that at all. And so once you've allowed yourself to sit with some of those uncomfortable emotions about, what if I did pursue these desires? Our brain will go to what are the worst outcomes, but then also ask yourself, what are the best outcomes? If I was in a world where I could be, do, or have anything I wanted, because guess what? You really can. You really can be, do, or have anything you want, right? That is what manifestation is. Your thoughts create your reality. That is what I've been seeing and experiencing in my own life when I teach my clients. But, of course, it takes time to get there, right? So I understand if you're skeptical, right? But if you could go to the place of maybe is a great bridge word for any thought, if you can't fully believe it yet, maybe someday I could pursue this desire, and maybe I would be even happier pursuing it, and everyone else would be too. Or maybe no one would think badly of me, or maybe others wouldn't care as much as I think they would. Maybe others wouldn't be as negatively affected as I think they would be. Maybe I wouldn't care so much what others thought of me in the future when I do pursue this desire, if I pursued it, right? There's lots of maybes and ifs there, and so those are really good bridge words to use and bridge thoughts to have if you can't fully go to this place of, I'm going to pursue this desire and everything's going to be amazing. Because if your brain can't believe that, you're not going to want to think that, right? It's going to feel terrible when you think about it. So go to the best case possibility with a maybe and an if, and then of course the worst case scenario your brain's already going to give you. Then what I want you to do is I want you to ask yourself, with this life that you've been given, and while you're here, fast forward your life by 5 years, by 10 years, okay? And then really ask yourself, if I don't pursue this goal in the next 5 years, 10 years, and if I looked back at my life, let's say 10 years from now, if I looked back at my life and I did not ever pursue that desire or that dream, would I regret it? That question for me, I think, changed my entire life, because in that moment, I knew that I would. I knew I would regret it. I knew that I would strongly regret not pursuing certain desires. Now, there were some desires I had at the time when I was doing these exercises where I thought they're desires, but I'm never going to act upon them because I just don't believe I'm supposed to act upon them. I don't believe that they line up with my religious beliefs, spiritual beliefs, cultural beliefs. I believe that they would affect people negatively, and level of judgment I may have from others, what others think, may be too much for me to handle. And so I'm okay with not pursuing certain desires, okay? I'll just let them be dreams, right? But there's certain desires that I really, really want to pursue. Yes, I'm afraid of what others will think of me. It'll be very, very difficult. I will go through some identity crises, but I will regret not pursuing them. 10 years from now, if I never pursue them, I would regret that, right? And so that's a really excellent way of figuring out which desires you definitely do want to pursue. Okay? I think that's a really good starting place for all of you, because it'll quickly just tell you what's really important to you and what you believe, what your brain at this moment believes is possible for you, and what you believe you could actually pursue, and the net result of that, you achieving that, meaning more to you than what others would think of you. Because if you would regret not pursuing that desire 10 years from now, looking back, not having pursued it, it means that pursuing it the joy, the satisfaction, the fulfillment of that means a lot more to you than what anyone else would think of you, even the closest people in your life. And I think that's saying something really, really big. So pay attention to that. Pay attention to the answer to that question. And the rest of the desires that you feel like, I just can't pursue those at all for whatever reason, I just can't even wrap my mind around it, let's leave that list there. Let's kind of put it in the back burner, right? Because what will happen is as you start to evolve and you start to pursue those initial desires that you definitely want to not pass up in the next 5 to 10 years, the other desires will be there in the back burner, in the back of your mind. And as you start to evolve, either you will find your inner being, your source, universe, God, whatever you believe in will help you pursue those inner desires, pursue those other desires, the desires that you think you can never pursue. Things will start to happen and line up for you where those will start working out too. But you don't have to worry about that right now, right? Just kind of trust in what I'm saying, because I've experienced it and it's fucking amazing, right? And it's blown my mind. So just trust what I'm saying and don't worry about that. But let's focus on that first desire, those first few desires that you definitely do want to pursue within the next 5 to 10 years. Okay, you don't want your life to go on like it is now and live in the discomfort of not pursuing those desires. I think for many of you, it may come down to two things. One may be a career, business decision, or some sort of creativity outlet that you have, that you want to pursue, that you're just really ashamed about, that you're really afraid of what people will think when you tell them, that you're switching careers, or that you want to start a business in some way, or that you want to be a YouTuber or an Instagram influencer, or that you want to make reels about dancing, or, dance on reels, or you want to make videos about God knows what, right? But something that people may not even know about you, the closest people in your life may not know, that you're passionate about, that you want to do. And for some of you, it may be within relationships. Some of you may want to be in a relationship and make it public. And it may not be the type of person that your loved ones would accept or see you with. And you want that. You just want to be finally open with everyone. Or some of you may want to leave a marriage or a relationship, and you're too afraid of the judgment, what others would think, and the repercussions of that. Some of you may want to have a different type of relationship. Some of you may want to follow the traditional model of monogamy. Some of you may want open relationships or polyamorous relationships, but you're afraid of what others would think. And there's several layers to that, right? Depending on your upbringing, maybe your values, maybe your beliefs, maybe there's conflicts there internally. And so, again, I'm not saying that you have to pursue any desire completely head on from the moment you figure out what those are, what those 10-year ones are. But I do think it's important for you to start thinking about them. And I would pick one. I would just pick one that you can start with. That's the path of least resistance that calls to you the most right now. That would make the biggest difference in your life. For me, for example, when I started this process a few years ago, I realized that, I wanted to be a physician my whole life because that's all I knew. I wanted to be a doctor. But then after I became one, I didn't want to be a doctor anymore. I didn't want to practice medicine my whole life. I mean, nothing wrong with that. Most of my best friends from college and med school are practicing physicians. I have 17 physicians in my extended family. A lot of doctors, right? And I love all of them, and we need them. I'm not dissing the profession, to each their own. For me, however, I just felt like I kind of saw my life for the next 30 years if I were to practice. And I just saw that it wasn't enough for me. I saw that it was kind of boring for who I am and my personality. I felt like I couldn't express who I am creatively within that. And I felt like I would be capped. I would be controlled by, hospitals and insurance companies, or just the system in general. I feel like there would be a cap on my income eventually. I kind of saw the future of what, that field was going into. And I knew I had to get out. Now, I could have stayed. I knew I could have had a pretty good life, financially lucrative. But I just felt like it would have been too cookie cutter. It would have been too fucking in the box like every fucking other person. And there's nothing wrong with other people doing a cookie cutter lifestyle. This isn't a, I'm better than anyone else type of thing. This is just, that's not who I am, right? I believe we're all equal at a soul level. Now, you gotta believe you're the best. Right? You gotta believe you're the king of the universe, the queen of the universe. You should all believe that about yourself, right? That is self-love, that is self-confidence. And then you can believe that about everyone else too. You can believe everyone else is a king or queen, right? And that would just make this world a better place, right? Talk about everyone being super confident, treating each other with that respect. But this isn't about being above others in that sense. This is more about, that's not for me, right? And it might not be medicine for you, whatever it is, whatever traditional career path it is, right? Or whatever you're pursuing right now, whatever school you're in, whatever degree you're pursuing, okay? It may just not be what you want to do. And you have to be honest with yourself. Are you not wanting to do it because it's getting hard, because it's getting challenging? Because that's different than just not wanting to do it anymore, right? Because any profession you go into, any career change, any business you start, anything you do is going to be challenging. It's going to be hard. I mean, if you don't know already, welcome to life, right? Anything you pursue is going to have its challenges, ups and downs. But for me, I was willing to have the downs through another field. And specifically for me, it was life coaching and entrepreneurship. When I discovered coaching and entrepreneurship, online business, I thought, holy fuck, like this is crazy. I can help people in the way I want to, with their mindset and what I teach them, coach them, and I can make money from it online with my laptop from anywhere in the world. Are you fucking kidding me? It doesn't get better than that, right? I just felt like it took everything that medicine would have provided me, which is why I wanted to do it, which was to help people, connect with people, heal them, right? I could do all of that, but I could do it on my own terms. I could do it in my own creative ways. There was no cap on my income. I could make millions of dollars if I wanted to, as quickly as I wanted to, right? The more work I put in, the more I get out. I just felt like there were such less barriers to get started. Now, it doesn't mean it was a walk in the park, right? Today I'm very successful after a few years of doing this, of being a coach entrepreneur, and I help other coach entrepreneurs build six-figure businesses online. But I didn't start off that way, right? I went through my struggles, right? And I was willing to go through those struggles because the good that this decision, this profession, this business provides me is way better than the good that the other life would have provided me that I saw if I had just stayed in my traditional career path. Now, for you, it may be different, but you know, it doesn't matter what career path you're on. If you feel like this just isn't who you are, it's not who you want to be, forget who you are. If it's not who you want to be anymore, you don't see yourself being this person 10 years from now, you don't see yourself really fulfilled, then you have to be honest with yourself. That may be the thing that you need to change. That may be the jump you need to make. That may be the leap you need to make. And guess what? In the beginning, it's going to be very, very tough, right? Because you will have to believe, you will have to consume content like this and from others who inspire you to make those changes or the field you want to get into, to pursue that desire. And you will have to believe in yourself, because your family, your friends, other people, they're not going to understand why you're changing. They're not going to understand what vision you have in mind. When I first started, everyone thought I was fucking crazy for changing paths. So like, you're going to leave medicine, a tried and tested traditional career path that pays you well, that everyone respects, for coaching? What the fuck is life coaching? Right? And today I make way more than I would have as a physician, working way less hours, living my literally best life. Every morning I wake up, I thank the universe, I thank God for the life I live, because I created this fucking amazing life by making the decisions I've made. But at the time, no one saw that. At the time, people thought I'd be on the street. People thought I'd be on the road. People thought, what the fuck is he doing? He's batshit crazy. I had to believe in my vision. I had to become stubborn about it. I had to get excited about it. I had to become committed. I'm going to make this happen no matter what. And sometimes the drive to prove people wrong, to prove your loved ones wrong, is all the fuel you need. You know, I love my parents. I love my little sister. I love everyone in my life, you know, even the romantic partners I had in my life at that time. And I was able to prove everyone wrong. You know, today, those same people congratulate me, and they look up to me, and they respect me because I picked something that I wanted to do. I took a risk. I took a leap. I didn't do what everyone else wanted me to do. I was willing to let other people be wrong about me, right? And that's the motto I want to leave you with more than anything else is my life completely changed because whenever I had a thought that someone's judging me, I just said, I'm going to allow other people to be wrong about me. I give permission to others to be wrong about me. Right? I know who I am. Maybe not all the time. We don't know who we are, right? But I know who I am well enough most of the times, right? And so I'm going to give permission to them to be wrong about me. They don't need to be right about me. I don't need everyone to understand me. And sometimes you don't even need your closest loved ones to understand you. They can still love you and love parts of you and still be wrong about parts of you. They can be right about parts of you, and they can be wrong about some things. And so I gave permission to people to be wrong about me. I gave myself permission to be okay with others judging me and being wrong about me, right? That is one motto I want to leave you, because again, that has changed my life. I let people be wrong about me. I give permission to people to be wrong about me. Life-changing right there. So take that with you, okay? But what ended up happening is, like I said, when I started succeeding, the same people who thought I was crazy started celebrating me, started congratulating me, right? And so, what a payoff. What a fucking amazing payoff to have those same people who thought I would amount to nothing when I decided to take a different path, when I decided to pursue a desire I was too afraid to pursue because I was afraid what others would think of me. How fucking amazing does it feel when those same people applaud me, when they see how courageous I was, when they look up to me for the risks I took? It's the best fucking feeling in the world, and that is reason alone for you to pursue your desire. Again, like I said, it may not be a walk in the park, but I promise you it is so worth it. If I could do it again, I would do it all fucking over again. I would do it 1,000,000 times over again, because it was worth it. And for you, it may not be a career or new business. For you, it may be a relationship change. That's a big one. It's a big identity shift in someone's life. And I don't think it needs to be as big as it is. I think it's actually fucking stupid. After the life experiences I've gone through, I've learned so much, continue to learn, of how big of a deal we make in society about traditional relationships. Whether it's with your family, your parents, your siblings, whether it's with your marriage partner, your husband, wife, your spouse, your boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever it is. I'm going to have to do a lot of episodes on that. Because that is a topic I'm passionate about. And I want to get the message across to invite people to allow themselves to free themselves from these shackles of society that were around if they're not serving them anymore. To live your best fucking life. And you can still be loving to everyone and be respectful. But most of all, you have to be loving and respectful to yourself. You have to put yourself first. Because when you don't, you have very little to give others. And in the long run, you have nothing to give. Because you'll run out of fuel. You have to give to yourself first. So you have to be honest with yourself first about what you really want. And so, when it comes to relationships, it may be for you, do I still want to be in this marriage? Now, I'm not encouraging any of you to get a divorce. Okay, I'm not encouraging that. I'm not encouraging any of you to break up. But I might be encouraging you to fucking leave your marriage or relationship if it's harming you. If 5 to 10 years from now it's going to make you a worse person, make you unhealthier, make you more mentally unstable, make you more miserable than you are now. Yes, I am encouraging that, and I'm not afraid to say that. Or maybe you want to make your marriage work. Maybe you want to make your relationship better, right? Maybe that's the change you want. Maybe it's in a really bad place and you want to just improve it, make it better. Or maybe you want to have a child. Maybe you want to have some sort of expansion in your relationship. That's also a really worthy desire to pursue. You may be afraid of what people may think, right? Some of you are in situations where maybe others don't like who you're with and don't think that you're in the right relationship, but you want to fight for it. So fight for it, right? Do whatever it takes to stay in it, to make it good, to make yourself better, to make the person better, right? It goes both ways. Some of you may want very untraditional relationships. Some of you may not want to be, may not want to be monogamous. Some of you may not want to be married. Some of you may want to have open relationships. Some of you may want to have friends with benefits. Some of you may want to have polyamorous, multiple partners, okay? But you're afraid of what others will think of you. And so I think it's really, really important to, again, ask yourself, 5 to 10 years from now, if I don't ever act upon this desire, will I regret it? And if the answer is yes, then you need to start doing something about it, okay? I'm not saying every single thing at once, but I'm saying that you want to start taking some sort of action. Maybe start having some conversations with yourself first and foremost. Then maybe start having the tough conversations, or one conversation at least, with the people that it might affect. I'm not saying to take any quick action. I'm not recommending that you blow things up and have some atomic bomb go off in your life, right? I'm not suggesting that at all. But I'm also not going to recommend and encourage you to mull over something and to overthink it for months and years and not do anything about it, because you're just wasting time, right? You're just procrastinating because you're letting the discomfort keep you from doing what you need to do to get ahead. And guess what? That discomfort ain't going anywhere. You can wait years to make that decision. The discomfort's going to fucking be there, and it's going to continue to grow. I'd rather you much more be uncomfortable temporarily and then have a heightened discomfort when you bring these things up with whoever you need to bring up, whoever you need to bring it up with, who might think of you less, might judge you, might be angry at you, might disown you, whatever the case is, whatever you're afraid of, right? Bring that up and then be able to set yourself free so you can live the life you want and become the person, become the man or the woman you want to become. And it's interesting because we talked a lot about discomfort, and you can either choose to be a little comfortable now and uncomfortable your entire life because you didn't pursue certain desires that were very important to you in your heart that maybe you've never told anyone else about, or you can be temporarily uncomfortable and then have a life filled with pleasure and fulfillment because you actually pursued a desire that was important to you, and you were willing to let other people judge you and think negatively of you, and you were willing to let them be wrong about you. I want to offer that if you're in a situation where you do want to pursue a certain career, business, a creativity type of hobby, outlet, a new venture, a relationship change, or just being open with the type of relationships you have or how you want to live your life that's probably not in alignment with other people close to you, I want to recommend that I want your brain to go to the place of the worst case scenario, right? So ask yourself, what is the worst case scenario? Make a list, write it down. And then ask yourself if it really affected some people negatively in your life, like really close people, and because of that you're too afraid to pursue this desire. Ask yourself if you allowed people to be who they wanted to be and react the way they wanted to react, and to be angry or be sad or be heartbroken or be hurt or be confused or feel whatever they felt, if you just allowed them to be who they want to be in that moment, if you allowed them to be human without trying to control their emotions, which is what we try to do all the time, and you allow that negativity to be there, are you willing to kind of let there be some negativity, some discomfort, some drama to be in your life with other people for a little while, temporarily, until the dust settles? Maybe the dust would settle after a few months. Maybe it would settle after 9 months, maybe a year, maybe 3 years, maybe 7 years. Who knows, right? But are you willing to give everyone space and time, the people that you think it'll affect so much, so that you can pursue this desire, so that you can become who you want to become, so that you can live the life of your dreams? Because that matters, and it matters. And if you're able to say, yes, maybe I could go to that worst case scenario in my mind and allow everything to fall apart and people be upset or angry or hurt by me, and then know that in the end, I'm sure after a few months, after a few years, I'm sure these people, they'll love me at the end of the day. I'm sure they'll come around and I'll come back around to them, right? I'm sure we'll figure out a way to peacefully coexist with our differences. I don't know how in the world that would happen yet, but I'm sure if love is the thing that truly binds us, especially the people that I know truly care about me and love me, if love is what binds us, I know they'll come around, right? So wouldn't it be worth it for me to pursue this desire? Because maybe then even they'll see that I became more of who I wanted to be. And maybe eventually they'll be grateful. Maybe if they see that I'm happy and thriving and doing well, maybe they'll come around, because at the end of the day, that's what they want from me. And if someone doesn't want that for you, do they really love you? Do they really care about you? I know in South Asian culture, it's very tricky. I'm very close to my parents, right? Extremely close to my parents. I'm extremely close to my little sister. I'm extremely close to some family members, relatives, friend circles. And a lot of us are from the same culture, grow up in the same religion. And it's very tricky depending on what kind of background you have. This can apply to you regardless of how you grew up. But it's very tricky because we're told a lot of times that, if someone really loves you, they'll accept you fully for who you are. And that's not the case. I think someone can love you, but they can still be upset or hurt or angry or not agree with certain decisions you'll make about your life. And they may be, like I said, not accepting of certain parts of you, right? As a whole, they may love and accept you, but not of certain parts of you. And sometimes that may require a change of environment. That may require you moving out temporarily. That may require, having some distance and communication for a while, right? And in other episodes, I'll talk about solutions to that. Make sure that you have at least one person in your life, a best friend, a close friend, make a new friend, someone that you can talk to. Make sure you get a coach or a therapist you can talk to, so that you have that human connection as you're going through these changes, because that's very important, right? We need human connection for survival. But don't ever completely write off your desires because you're too afraid of completely losing certain people in your life. I genuinely believe that if there are people in your life who truly love you and truly care about you, even if they are temporarily in disagreement about a desire you choose to pursue, they will come around. And that's reason alone for you to pursue it. And I believe that if someone doesn't ever come around, they don't truly love you. They love the idea of you more. They love how good you can make them feel about themselves based on how you behave. And I see that a lot in South Asian culture, right? Some people call it toxicity, some people say other words. I just believe it is the way it is for whatever reason. It's just how things have developed. There's lots of pros to the culture. There's lots of negativities as well, lots of cons, right? And so I think you just have to be okay with going to those worst case scenarios and realizing that I can let other people think badly of me, be wrong about me, and in the end, I know the people who really want to be in my life will be in my life. And it may not be a linear path, the way you go about these desires. You may get angry at times, you may get frustrated, you may snap at people, you may blow up at people, you may tell some people off, right? I'm not saying to be a perfect human being who's just super happy and charming and, takes it all. I would love for you to be that way. I would love for you to be calm. I would love for you to be the new self, your future self in these situations. Act from that higher place. It's a great opportunity for you to develop into that person. But I do think if you come from a place of love, if you choose to come from a place of love, especially when it comes to close people in your life, and you're afraid of what they will think about you, I think that you will always win. You will still feel uncomfortable, and there may still be disagreements there. And things may not all go the way you plan, but I believe if you continue to try to focus as much as you can on coming from a place of love, I'm going to choose to love these people. I'm going to choose to love the people who may misunderstand me, who may judge me, who may be angry at me, who may get hurt by my decisions or the desires that I pursue. If you choose to come from that place, I do believe eventually it will lead to very good things. I believe eventually it'll lead to more unity, more love, more connection between all those people. And for the other people who just continue to judge you, fuck them. Like, literally fuck them. Like, who cares? Right? Because they're probably always going to talk shit about you anyway or judge you anyway. And it's a good way to kind of weed people out of your life, right? Do you really want people in your life who, because of what you choose to do, because you choose to pursue your personal deep desires, are going to cut you off? Those aren't people you want in your life. And that's something that I had to really accept and be okay with. And of course it was painful. Of course it was hurtful. But I would do it all over again because I'm so fucking happy now. I'm fulfilled. And I think that's what matters in the end. And all the people I really care about, all the people who I know always had my best interest, the people I know genuinely gave a fuck about me are still in my life. Every single one of them. The only people who left are in my life clearly have shown me that they didn't really fucking care about me, right? Because if they did, they'd still be in my life, And it goes both ways, of course, right? Effort goes both ways, but you guys know what I'm saying here. And so I think it's such a great litmus test for your relationships as well, when you choose to pursue certain desires, to see if you can allow the discomfort of what others will think about you to be there, and then continue to build your life from that place. So, in short, in conclusion, I want to encourage you to be bold, be brave, and to let others be wrong about you. This life is your life. You're meant to live it to the fullest. You're meant to be the happiest version of yourself, the most fulfilled, the most empowered, the biggest, best version of yourself. And if that means that some people may be uncomfortable, either people who are close to you or random strangers you're afraid of who might think something of you, learn to be okay with it. You have to constantly remind yourself that you are the king of your universe. You are the queen of your universe. Your opinion of you matters more than anyone else's opinion of you. And yes, that includes your parents, and that includes your siblings, that includes your husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, your romantic partners, that includes your best friends. Your opinion of you should matter more than anyone else's opinion of you. And that is when you do have to be above. Your opinion has to be above everyone else's when it comes to you. Because it's you. It's your fucking life. And if you grew up a people pleaser like me, many of you did, chronic people pleaser here, ex-chronic people pleaser here, not anymore. Still some shows up sometimes, the tendencies show up sometimes, but it works in my favor because it kind of allows me to connect with people and charm them and you know, develop really good friendships with them. So it has its benefits. But if you kind of grew up a people pleaser, then this will be challenging for you because you literally think, and you've been trained, whether you believe it's a religious value you're supposed to follow or some cultural belief, or you've just been programmed to think this way, you will believe other people's opinions of you are more important than your opinion of you. Let me tell you, they're not. They're just not. And I think one of the best gifts we can give to other people, especially close people in our lives, is to rely on themselves for their own happiness, right? Because if they're relying completely on you to behave a certain way, which includes you not pursuing certain desires you have, in order for them to be happy, you're doing them a disservice. Because guess what? They're never going to be happy because you're always changing. They're always changing. And guess what? They're never going to be happy with you. Haven't you figured that out yet? Some of the people you're the closest to that you haven't pursued certain desires for, there's times where they're not happy with you. There's times where they say fucking annoying things to you, right? There's times where you still mess up. There's times where you want them to fully understand you where they won't. And you're doing all of that for these people, for these fellow humans like us. We are so fickle-minded as humans. We change our opinions all the time, right? We can bitch and complain and moan about the smallest things. And so you're going to sacrifice all of your desires for your fellow humans, even if it's your parents, your siblings, your romantic partners. Are you fucking insane? It's okay. It can be a beautiful thing to want to do something because you love someone, to want to make them happy. It's okay to not want to do something because you love someone, because it would make them happy. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. If you genuinely desire that more than the actual desire you have. But I think for most of you, that's not the case. I think most of you think, like I used to think, that there's some glory in sacrifice. There's some glory in sacrificing what I really want. You know, the test for me is to sacrifice my desire and to glorify this other person's desire to make them happy. I hope you realize by now, like I said, not a single person is ever going to be always happy with you. I'm extremely close to my mother. I'm extremely close to a lot of people in my life. And those people aren't always going to be happy with me no matter what I do. Even if I tailor my life to exactly how they want it to be. They'll be more miserable eventually, because I'll be more miserable, right? So, what a short-term gain for such a long-term sacrifice. How tragic. How tragic is it if you choose to live your life that way? And I think by you choosing to pursue your desire, regardless of what others think of you, and being who you want to be, when I say desires, I just mean showing up the way you want to show up. Maybe it's a certain way of dressing. Maybe it's a certain way you want to show up on social media or in life or whatever you want to do, right? When I say desire, it can mean just who you want to be in the world now, right? Who you want to be as a person. By doing that, you are teaching the people in your life and yourself to rely on yourself and your connection with Source, with God, with the universe, whatever you believe in. You're relying on yourself and your connection to Source as your source of happiness, right? Because then you don't need anyone else to make you happy. It's great if they do. It's great if they add to that. It's great if they add love to your life. Those are beautiful things. But you're not dependent on that for happiness. You teach yourself how to do that, and then you teach the people who are fixated on you and what you did and how you lived your life and what desires you pursued and didn't pursue and who you were being, you teach those people to finally stop being fixated on you. You teach them, once they get disappointed with you so badly, to finally look inward at themselves. Like, oh, maybe I should focus on what makes me happy. Maybe I should focus on my connection with myself and my source and my universe and my God, right? Because that's where my happiness and joy and peace comes from. And everything else, my child, my sibling, my best friend, my relative, they're just a blessing in my life. They get to be who they want to be, and I get to love them. That's my blessing, right? And I promise you that is achievable. I know some of you come from very, very strict backgrounds, live in very strict families, have very conservative friend circles. And I'm not just talking about religious beliefs here. I'm talking about anything, right? Like, even for me, moving from the medicine field to what I'm doing today, I know some of my old friends, some of my older best friends probably still think that what I did, I mean, they probably still have some negative feelings about it because I kind of left their tribe, right? So I'm out doing my own thing, living my best life, right? Some of them may have issues with it, right? Some of them won't, but some of them may have issues with it, and I'm totally fine with that, right? If they want to talk about it, I'm here, and if they don't, that's on them, right? Are you willing to let people be upset with you? Are you willing to let people be wrong about you? I think your desire is worth pursuing. I think your desire is there for a reason. I think your desire matters. I think you were born with certain desires before you came here, and I think you developed certain desires through this life experience, and I believe your desires are worth pursuing. I do believe they're the map to your destiny. So I want you to pursue them. I genuinely do. And I believe if you do, you will become more of who you are. And I believe you will feel more fulfilled, more alive, and you'll get to experience the best that this life has to offer. I love you so much. Hope this was helpful. If it was, go ahead and comment below with your feedback, your thoughts, what your journey has been like, about caring what others think of you. If you found any of these tips helpful, if you'd like to share tips with the rest of the community on what's helped you in the past, go ahead and leave your comments, leave your feedback. I'd love to hear from you. Make sure you subscribe, and hopefully I'll see you in the next video. Lots of love, my friend.